G'day and welcome to Daily Insights and Storytellings with me, Moon Willow. It's a real honour and privilege to notice how many people are actually watching these that I'm putting out, other than the brief hiatus that I had recently on a daily basis. I'm really loving the energies that are coming in through this particular medium. And it never ceases to surprise me how interconnected we are energetically. And I really love that. I really love that sense of community that I feel like we're beginning to build. And I really appreciate you spending the time with me as I put these out. On that particular note, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button so you stay in contact when I put another one out. I have tried a couple of times already today to do this, but the universe seems to have its own specific plan, and who am I to query that? Although I have to say it can be a little bit frustrating because often I get to an end of putting one of these together and realise that partway through it has stopped recording properly. And it's something that I don't notice until right at the end. One of the things that I have figured out over time is that the times that occurs is when I've done a reading that becomes more specific to myself and not necessarily the collective energies. So I can only assume that if by the end of it, it records all the way through, that is actually that I'm linking in appropriately to all of our energies as a group, whether you're watching now or in the future, that it's going to give some information to yourselves in a way that resonates for you and hopefully gives you an aha moment to help sift through everything that's going off. I'm really noticing and have noticed very much since I got up this morning and yesterday evening before heading into my bed that the energies feel really weird at the moment. There is a lot of talk, or has been a lot of talk for the past couple of weeks, of the earth having access to a higher level of frequency and a higher level of light. And I could really feel that yesterday in a way, but that I think was more specifically due to the sun really shining. And then today it's been really overcast and it feels more murky on an energetic level as much as a physical level of the weather. It feels like it's almost like walking through molasses. The energy feels really thick at the minute. And it's almost a struggle to just feel connected to the lighter side. But it's like I've noticed every time I've gone outside today that I feel like moving. I feel like just doing a little dance and just in a way watching my hands and watching the way that I'm moving. It's almost like I'm trying to move the energies away from me or through me in a way that I can flow more easily within my day. But it's almost like it feels really thick and quite oppressive in a lot of ways. And I don't think that's specifically due to what's going off in the world, that it seems like these different restrictions and different ways of being are quite oppressive to how we would normally want to be looking at our lives at this point in time. But the light is still coming through, and it's almost like if we get out of our own ways, we can actually feel that light, feel that lightness of touch and that joy that we can still have even though the sun is literally not shining today. So but it feels like almost at a lot of other times it feels like for me especially over this past couple of months, it's like I almost take one step forward and feel like I take a couple back, and that's not a new thing I've noticed in the universe. that is something that tends to occur a lot. And it's almost like starting a race. It's almost like sort of like the universe is sort of saying, right, okay, we're going to lift up the starting, we're going to put you on the starting blocks, let you run, but then put a hurdle in the way, literally. And I'm no good with hurdles. I just cannot go over them. So it's like we sort of start to move forward at a pace and then sort of trip and stumble. And then it's like picking ourselves back up again, noticing the obstacle, managing to get around it, because I can't jump over hurdles. So in this particular analogy, I would have to go round it, which would create more distance to get to the finish line. But within that analogy, it's also seeing that we are still making a headway, that if we look back from an energetic or an individual point of view, just going back a couple of years, even a couple of months, it's noticing and appreciating that we are moving forward, that it may not be at the speed or the rate that we would like it to happen, but there is still movement. So it's almost like getting out of our own way and actually realizing and really feeling that energetic shift, that beautiful light coming through, and just allowing that to settle and bubble within, so that even if we're stumbling, that we actually don't get cross at that stumble, that we can actually look at the lighter side of it and realize that there are different types of trips we can take, but we can still move forward within that and actually still get to where we're going. And sometimes that halt needs to happen. Sometimes that diversion needs to happen because the next step that we need to, or the next bit of our journey, hasn't actually materialized yet. That it's like, yes, we're set on a course and we can see where we'd like to go, and the universe is going, yeah, that's great, keep going, but it hasn't quite caught up to the next bit, that it hasn't quite seen other things that may be interfering, that may be shading us, may be blocking the sun from us, and actually it needs to make us slow down a little bit whilst that next bit comes in. Equally within that, it's like if we go running too quickly, or we hit our destination too soon, we haven't actually integrated, we haven't actually learnt anything along the way, because it is about the journey. It's about learning and appreciating and weaving in the different parts. It's like while I was away, just meeting the most fantastic and fabulous women who have a similar way of looking at the world, a similar spirituality that I have. And that was pure joy in being able just to openly be authentic with where I sit in the universe and be met in the same way. And it's almost like being stuck inside my home at the moment. It's giving me the time and the opportunity just to have that settle within and actually really appreciate that it isn't always negative, it is not always dark, that it's those moments that we can hold on to and we can relive and review, that we can actually find that shining light going forward at the same time. So it's a way of just looking at it from a different perspective. We can get caught up in our old patterns, and it's like, oh, we're here again. I've tried different things and it's not working, and we can get caught in that. But if we take a step back and breathe in deeply, we can notice that even within sort of something seeming similar, that actually the way we feel about it, or the way that we view it, or the actual circumstances themselves are different to what we've experienced in the past. But I don't know whether I've ever mentioned before, but it's like sort of changing a course of a river. That if you've got a river going in one way, but you actually wanted to water the crops somewhere else, and you put in a new channel and you divert the river down a different channel, that in flooding season, initially it'll go back to the old channel. And that's a similar thing, I think, in that we're repeating old patterns, but it's noticing that we've ended up in an old pattern and that we remove it back to the new way. And then over time, we're going to continue having floodings. We're going to continue having that feeling of, oh shit, I'm here again. why am I here again? But as time goes on, as we continue to make the new channel deeper, in a time of flooding somewhere along the line, we will notice that instead of the river going down the old way, it goes down the new path automatically. It doesn't stop us having the flooding, that we don't stop having those triggers, because it's almost like we've set up the universe to actually re-trigger us in the same way until we learn how to react and respond differently. That after a period of time, it will take us a lot quicker. It'll be a lot quicker for us to notice that we've ended up in a flooded situation, that we've ended up in a trigger again. But at the same time, we notice that it's easier to flow down the new route. It's easier to flow down in a new way of perceiving it. So I'm now intrigued to find out sort of like the crystal and the cards and see if that relates in any way to what I've just been chatting about. So we'll start with the crystal. And we've got carnelian. So it's very much about the sacral. So very much about flow. So it is very much about what I've just been talking about. So it's how we flow in life, and sort of how we can be creative in the way that we flow, in how we can change the way we react and respond, that we really settle into our gut and really have a feel and a sense about how we're reacting and responding emotionally to different situations, and how we can create a different way, how we can create a different river along the way, so that we can actually navigate our lives in an easier way. It's somewhere along the line we've been brought up, I feel, or I know I have, that things have to be difficult, that they have to be problematic, that we just can't flow through life. And I know that that's a subconscious aspect of myself, and it's something I'm really trying to work on, in sort of saying, well, no, why does it have to be like that? Why can't my life be easy? Why can't I have abundance coming in? Why can't I just go with the flow? And on an energetic level, and on a universal level, as far as I understand it, that there isn't a reason other than the one that we set up ourselves. And it's almost like our subconscious is out to sabotage us, and that's not what it's doing. It's not consciously doing that. It's just that's the bits of belief systems that we have absorbed from family, from culture, from schools, from the media, etc., that it sort of constantly bombards us that we're going to have to actually succeed, or for things to work, then we have to work hard, that it's going to be difficult, that we can't feel happy all the time, things like that. So this carnelian for me is suggesting that we really go into our sacral space, our womb space, or if you're a man, it's the same sort of area, in that sort of creativity, that fluidity of space of the feminine, and actually looking at sort of where those things have come through from the past and how that's impacting us on a creative level. Because realistically, we are meant to be able to weave whatever life we would like. It doesn't have to be hard, it doesn't have to be difficult, but sometimes it's about getting out of our own way, getting out of our own headspace, and really feeling the flow of where we would like to go. So with that in mind, we'll shuffle the cards. So if you concentrate on the cards for me, I really appreciate it. And then split, and do that, and that, and that, and that. And let's see what we have in regards to that. So we've got the heart, the bird, and I have numerous favourite cards in this pack, and the tree is one of them. So the heart of the matter is what's coming through. Heart of the matter is actually allowing ourselves to feel through our heart into our sacral space, into our creative abilities, being able to really unconditionally love those different parts that we've taken on, and realize and recognize that they were taken on in a time where we didn't truly understand what it was, that it was from a space, a soul space, different to the one that we're living in at the moment, because we're constantly changing. And really unconditionally loving those aspects of ourselves, but also bringing in love in regards to sort of being able to creatively go with the flow. And also, if we end up on old patterns or allowing that river to go back into its initial course when we get flooded, it's actually loving ourselves enough to let go of the vitriol that sometimes comes around, that negative thought process, negative thought patterns. Oh, here we go again. Why do you think you're worthy? All of that. But actually really loving and understanding that at the time that these were created, we were in a different heart space, that we were in a different space completely. And that we can actually shine the love and the light of our heart down into our sacral areas and really appreciate those things that bring us love, bring us joy, bring us happiness. So whether that be sort of dancing out in the rain, or dancing like a mad woman around your kitchen, as I do from time to time, sort of recognizing that actually cooking ourselves a lovely meal actually can be full of love and is very creative. It's a creative way of nourishing ourselves. It's a creative way of nurturing ourselves. And even if we don't have a lot, we can still do these things from a space of love, and it has an equal effect nutritionally as it goes in, because it's from an energetic point of view. That even if we don't have that sort of like healthy stuff at the same time, that the way that we make it, the way that we look after ourselves and not give ourselves a hard time if we choose something that we know is not necessarily good for us, because that's nurturing our creativity, that's nurturing our internal self. So that still works in that regard. And it's even to the point of just picking up pencils and colouring and just doodling and seeing if there is a way, just by taking ourselves away from our thought process, but entering into our sacral space, entering into our creative self, it actually lets go of that logical mind that says, well, you can't do this, you can't do that, why are you doing it that way again, da, 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 da. It actually allows us to creatively flow into a different way of being, and just navigating ourselves that little bit easier from a space of love and understanding. So the next card is the bird. So the bird for me is that critical self. So that is coming again, that sort of feeds into what I've just been saying. It's noticing the thought process, that logical side, that side that's sort of nitpicking at the different things or the different ways that you want to do something. So I don't know, you could have sort of like someone knocking on your door wanting money, and actually it's like you can get quite scared in that, but within that you could still feel quite a lot of joy. It's probably a bad example, but it's sort of that, it's noticing that the critical thoughts are probably not yours in the first place, that these people whispering around because you want to choose to do your life in a different way. You want to be more creative in the way that you navigate what's going off in the world at the moment and be freer around it. That you may notice that, like, you've got next of kin or friends or family, etc., that are actually sort of saying, well, why are you doing that? You're being irresponsible, and all of that. It's noticing that they don't actually belong to you, but it's also noticing how you absorb that, how that sort of hits your heart and hits your sacral, and how you're carrying that negativity. So by taking a deep breath and actually looking at it, helps to actually become more creative in your response to it. But actually you can end up having that love of them at the same time, knowing that they, for whatever reason, in their mind, they're just trying to meet you in a loving way, which doesn't always work. But it's actually recognizing they're doing the best they can, but that doesn't mean we have to stay and listen. That's more difficult if it's our own thought process, and being able to walk away from ourselves is incredibly hard. So it is actually tuning into the creative side of dancing, of letting your hair down, of actually just having some fun, because life is about enjoyment, life is about fun. And if we worry about things or scared of things on a regular basis, then doesn't seem to be much of a life there. So it's actually letting go of those thoughts and acknowledging that they're there, but just saying that, yes, I hear you, but you're not helpful. So I'm going to go into doing dancing or singing or colouring, etc., or cooking. So the last card, which again sort of links into what I've already said, it's the tree. And sometimes it's the tree of knowledge, but within this particular instance, I think it's finding that tree. We all have the information inside. We all have the ability to create magic and wonder within, especially if we're coming from the sacral area of creativity. But the tree in this instance is reminding us to just sit and put our roots in as deep as we can into earth and just feel that incredible energy and support coming from her. But it's just taking that moment to breathe like the tree. And a tree as well, it is that knowledge, because we do have the knowledge within. But if we take the time to meditate, we take the time to sit with ourselves, that's when these creative ideas will come up, that we can start to hear the internal knowledge that we already have. So it is a tree of wisdom, the tree of knowledge, but it's an awareness that we have that knowledge within. And actually, if we take the time to nurture and love ourselves, disregard the words coming from the owl, coming from ourselves, coming from other people, and actually go within and feel what feels right for us, and just sort of really sitting with that energetic space, creative space from our sacral area, and just allowing that to flow through. And it's in that sitting that I think that we start getting those aha moments and those different sort of, I've had it called to me in the past, magical thinking. But it's like in giving ourselves time to breathe and actually looking within to the knowledge that we already have, it comes up with a creative way of moving forward that fits and sits well within us, so that we can actually proceed to walk in loving care for ourselves, especially taking that moment for the fluidity of our sacral space and creativity. So I feel that that's everything that's come out of that today, and I'm hoping that that resonates for people out there. I really do. We'll see what sound comes out now. You may or may not have noticed, but I do move my body as I'm vocalizing. That's not so much because I find it comfortable. I find it quite unusual. But what I have noticed is that if I'm not moving, for some reason it stops recording the pictures, and I would like to be able to put this out. So that's part of the reason why that's there. But also it is also about moving the energies as well, and just allowing it to come up and allowing it to come through. So well, that surprised me. I thought it was going to go up and down, and I wasn't aware that that last bit was actually going to be sustained. So as much as it's new to you listening to this, it's very much new to me when I'm doing this video as well. So thank you so much for joining me today. If I'm going to remind you, if you haven't already, please hit that subscribe button. Thumbs up, thumbs down as to whether I've rambled well or not, as the case may be today. If you are interested in an individual storytelling that you're trying to work out how to clear through the blocks that you may have within, or how to integrate, I am available for individual storytellings. Just message me either through my website, which I'll put at the bottom of the comments, or through Facebook and Instagram. I'm also on LinkedIn, so I'm really trying to get ahead in the technological wars at the moment. I know that we can't meet face to face at the moment, But I have discovered through doing this with various people that actually via WhatsApp or Zoom, etc., it works just as effectively. And people have gained some insight as to what's been going off for them. So if you would like to organise an individual storytelling with me, don't hesitate to contact me on any of the previously mentioned platforms. So with that in mind, I hope you enjoy the rest of your day. I love you all very much, and I look forward to seeing you all again tomorrow. Bye for now.